Hi guys, this is Team Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Gorgons.
And we are back because we have another Discovery update from Inverse. This was written by Ryan Britt. And
5 hours ago. It's brand new.
Yes. Fresh, hot off the presses, as they used to say back in the day before the internet. So what's this article about, Samuel? Give us a brief rundown and then we will discuss.
Well, the article's called "Finally, while Star Trek Discovery Klingons look so different, it has been explained."
And the first line is, "Honor to the Klingon Empire has been restored." So this information comes from TrekCore with a segment of an interview with Ted Sullivan. He's a writer for the magazine SFX. So let's learn all about what he said.
So this is about the sarcophagus ship and then the Klingons by extension. He said, "It's a 200-year-old ship. This is a group of Klingons who've gone back to a Puritan way of life. They look very different. They wear armour that's 200 years old, and they don't have any hair," he said. "Their commander runs his Klingon house, the House of Takuvma, by the rules of Kales, the Klingon Messiah, and he calls himself the second coming of the Klingon Messiah." He also claims that this specific house was one that's never foreseen, obviously, in Star Trek. So there we go, Stuart.
This sounds oddly familiar to us. Early on, when we first saw the Klingons and there was complaints about how they looked, we did a video talking about the Klingons, why they might look like that. We both speculated that it could be an ancient race of Klingons. Kind of true. The sarcophagus ship is 200 years old. These guys are living like a Puritan lifestyle, shave their heads, I guess.
Yep.
And have a different look, different armor, and that explains why they look so different. That was one of the speculations we put forward in our video, and it turns out we might be right. Hopefully this is accurate. I would assume it is. I mean, it's on the internet. It has to be true, right?
Well, it's breaking news, so, you know.
Yeah, so, and they've said all along, they have a plan. Just bear with them. I think they got a really negative backlash because of what they released. People didn't understand it, and they thought they were messing with the established canon. And I think we got to give them time. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's this show, unlike all the others, is a long form, like properly long form planned story arc. Yep. So, for example, if these are super old Klingons, but you know, that's only revealed right at the end, or they're from the future past, or whatever. You know, if that's a plot point spoiler, then obviously they need to wait to give that in the proper context. Now, obviously, while releasing images of these Klingons is obviously going to cause controversy, they all know that. And as many people say, any press is good press, even if it's pretty bad. You know, it gets people talking, it gets huge amount of, you know, and they get sort of known for that. And people might just tune in, legally or illegally, because, hey, Game of Thrones, most pirated show ever, at least when it came out, that helped it, because people got to see it, you know. If people go in watching it and suddenly see the first episode and think, "Oh damn, there's a reason," which is what we've said that the entire time. Everything is fine if there's a reason. You know, if there's a function for the Discovery's cutouts, there's a reason. If the engines are so long, because there's a reason. You know, if there's a reason, even if it's sort of a little bit flimsy, like the uniforms. You know, oh, it's the more military version. It's like, okay, cool. Or it's you know, they haven't updated yet, so they're still wearing the NX style. Okay, there are still TNG uniforms at the end of DS9 when they have 2 uniform changes, so sure, you know, these reasons can be whatever, and even if they're retconning them back into their own scripts because of the backlash, you know, maybe it was trying to be more of a reboot, and they're seeing the huge backlash, and they're trying to say, yeah, okay. I don't think that's the case, and I like that. I mean, 200-year-old ship, which this wonderful article tells us that's 2050. Is that right? Hold on. Yeah, it means the ship's from 2050. That was when it was launched. So just a little bit in our future, which means older than the NX class. And given the scale, I mean, this ship is, I mean, the NX. Whoa.
It's big. It's big, is what he's saying. He can't articulate the words. I can tell. He's shell shocked at how big it is.
It kind of feels like, you know, the Noah's Ark of the world. You know, we're this huge ship that's, or the it's the Titanic of the Klingon world. You know, we built this one ship to encompass everything. It's not very practical as a ship. It's a bit rubbish in terms of combat, maneuverability, speed, but it's big and it's, you know, that sort of thing, which is fine. You know,
And we suspected all along that it was an ancient ship based on the name Sarcophagus ship. You know what I mean? We speculated on that in early episodes or early discussions on Discovery. So,
but I like that they are not ancient Klingons. I kind of like that.
Yes. Yeah.
They are. This is a group of Klingons who've gone back to a Puritan way of life. 200-year-old armor. They have no hair. Now, 200 years of maybe shaving or even radiation of the ship can cause hair loss. I don't know if they're going to be shaving their hair every day.
Interesting.
I think it's just 200 years of, you can have some serious effects in 200 years of people and whatnot. So I think they just don't grow hair anymore. That's a thing.
Now, one thing that's got to be addressed is kind of the elephant in the room is the shape of their heads, the elongated heads. I don't know. We found skulls in Peru where they boarded the heads of kids to make them look like that. Is that the case here, or is this just a new Klingon look for head shape because you can't see it because it's covered with hair? I don't know. We've kind of discussed that as well. What do you think about the head shape idea and changing the overall look? Yeah,
they always said, they've said recently that they've got sensory nerves in their head. I mean, the fact is, and we said this before, there are Klingons from all over the Empire. It's a huge empire, and obviously, if you look at the generic Klingon, the warriors, they're very, very consistent throughout the show, just different foreheads. But obviously, you can look at Star Trek 6; they've got different variations. So there are alternate things, but for the most part, we always see the higher ups or the warrior class specifically. And we've been to Kronos; we know what the Kronos Klingon look like. So what we see is the creme de la creme, even if they're not very good warriors. Martok or Garon are going to have pretty decent Klingons on his ship, so you're not seeing the lower end of the spectrum, or in India, the lower caste. You're not seeing those people. So the more evolved Klingons don't have that for whatever reason. But these guys, they're living a Puritan way of life. But also, if they are from another part of the quadrant as well, part of the Klingon Empire. I mean, you can change the look of somebody quite drastically just by living a very different life for a while. So imagine that 200 years. Now, while you can't evolve necessarily to look different, again, imagine the ship has just some radiation which is causing more of a mutation, or maybe they stay indoors the whole time. They can't leave the ship or one of their ships. It's not sacred, It's kind of the Klingon Messiah. Maybe that's part of the purity. So they have to stay on the ship. So no real sunlight, that's not filtered. So therefore they're growing slightly differently. We don't know what that could be. Or they just don't drink blood wine. Maybe blood wine evolved. The introduction of blood wine is when they gained the really strong hair and the really, whatever. It's still a little bit of a stretch, but I like that they're like, what are the American versions that don't use technology? What are they called again?
Like the Amish?
Yeah, they're like the Amish.
The Mennonites? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Amish of the Klingon world, just with some technology. And they certainly have a different feel. Not as radical as these, but they have a different feel. Yeah.
And they actually, on a side note, they value facial hair. Once a man becomes married, he has to grow a beard, and you can't shave it. So it's kind of the opposite. They grow a beard to show their status in the community.
Yeah.
Same thing here.
Yeah, and culturally, Muslims have a lot of facial hair as well. So different cultures, different things. Whereas, Asian people, they can't grow as much facial hair.
Buddhist monks shave their heads.
Yeah, so straight away, different spectrum. And while they have a bit too much, if this is limited to the Tokugawa house, then you can say, well, they evolved along a certain line a bit more, or even has... if they're radicalized, and I think there's trying to be some parallels in modern society. Obviously, radicalization is a huge problem in the West and in the whole world. If they are actively changing their bodies, imagine this. Obviously, Kahless is a long time ago, and he was an epitome of the war, the Klingon Messiah, whatnot. If he was the Ultimate Warrior, wouldn't they want to push themselves to be the Ultimate Warrior?
Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking wrestling. Ultimate Warrior from wrestling. Some people will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, continue.
So why wouldn't they genetically alter themselves to be better warriors? Having these receptors in their heads, certainly an evolutionary advantage, although when you go to space travel, you want space technology, you don't necessarily want physical, you're not in it for the one-to-one kill, but they are Klingons, so that still exists. So I can imagine if they're genetically... look at humans. 2050 is after the Third World War, when they're making eugenic people. So we have that technology in this fake alternate past, because it's like 1996, we could do it. That's the problem with the Star Trek timeline now. So why wouldn't the Klingons be genetically changing themselves. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's a radicalized version of a Klingon sect that's specifically staying Puritan, that's changing themselves genetically to be better warriors. They're using this very, very aggressive armor, more like Kahless. I mean, that suddenly becomes very, very interesting. And as we said from very early on, as long as we see classic Klingons as well,
yes,
as long as we see both smooth heads and non-smooth heads, as long as we see those versions somewhere, and they don't retcon, because this now says they can't retcon every Klingon to look like this, which is great.
And this says too that Michael's parents were killed by Klingons on Vulcan. The article says that these Klingons could look very similar to the Klingons we know and love. So I think that's a very interesting point as well. Plus, these guys have been segregated from the Klingons, so who knows how much they would have developed, So
it also backtracks and explains why all the technology doesn't look like Klingons, because 200 years of our technology, a P90 to a revolver. I mean, they've got handles and triggers, stylistically nothing similar. Look at their guns; they're 200 years old. Their weapons. Look at the bat'leth. I think it's nice to have a number. It's nice to have a reinforcement of this, because we want to give them benefit of the doubt the entire time, because they're not stupid, any of them, and they're doing it. CBS wants a TV show to be successful, so that's interesting. 200 years of old tech, and I just want to see the new tech as well, or contemporary tech, because we've got to, because they can't represent the entire empire. They want to have this big, broad scope of Klingons. Well, you've got to see the spectrum. So that's exciting. Now, what do you think of this whole the Klingon Messiah? Takuma thinks he's the second coming of the Klingon Messiah. That's fascinating. What do you think?
Yeah, it says to me like cult leader. Somebody that's misguided in some way, crazy. I don't want to say the word, but and people will believe that and follow that, and or it could be like from an ancient proverb that he was born a certain way or has a certain birthmark that he assumes that he's the second coming when he really isn't. Something like that. I mean, you see it all the time in cults in our society, same kind of thing. And so, it'll be interesting to dive into that and see exactly how that happened, whether he is actually the Messiah, or, which I very seriously doubt, or why he thinks that. I think would be very important and interesting to find out about. So I'm excited, having read this article. Our thoughts have been kind of justified. We feel vindicated
faith as well. Our trust in them.
Yes. Yeah.
Really
and
good to hear.
We feel vindicated. A lot of people kind of attacked, the Klingons at first, and we tried to it could make sense. And in the comments, a lot of times people were like, well, no, it really couldn't. And anyway, it's interesting that we got this article when we did. It's only 2 weeks away. I'm so excited.
Oh, so much to talk about.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll get answers right away in the first couple episodes. Maybe it might not come to the end of the season. It's hard to say. But
well, thing is, if we know that the pilot is the Shinzo. Thank you. Shinzo.
Yeah.
And Shinzo gets destroyed at some point early on. The fact that this ship is the one that is in the situation means that they're not going to say, "Oh no, it's the classic House of Duras that look normal." They're going to say, That's the sarcophagus ship. This is the House of Takuma. Takuma, they killed my parents. I know, they're really radical and a bit. I know, they look so weird. Let's fight them. They'll have to have this exposition, but it kind of, they're driving into that straight away. So I'm kind of excited to hear that and to feel that. And by having such a unique perspective, they get to reflect modern society, the radicalization, which is interesting, with a familiar race we know a lot about. But also, if it's that old and they're that Kahless centric, we're going to learn all about the real old history of Kahless. We know a tiddly bit. Although we know what he looks like because of TNG. Yeah. He's got hair. Just saying. Although if it's the real genetic material of Kahless, I suppose, blah, blah, blah. I guess they could say it was a fake, whatever. Double fake. But to learn all about that stuff as well, and to get a real tangible sense of how the Klingons evolved from... Because now we know old tech. We now have real... Although, you got to wonder, if the sarcophagus ship is 200 years old, would the other ships, again, not at all looking Klingon ships, would they all be... Because they're all roughly the same design, and again, to the concept art, would they all be part of the same fleet they've just managed to maintain? Because...
Possibly. I mean, we know that. And I don't want to get into other stuff we've talked about, but Klingon fleets tend to keep their ships active for a long time. The same designs, like the D7s and the Katingas. So why not? Why can't they be part of the same fleet that have either been built in that style as part of the royal house or whatever they're going for, or just maintained from the original ships? I mean, I can see both being an option. So
yeah. But yeah, really happy with this news, and I love that number, 200 years. Because like I said, we had genetic engineering well before 2050, well into our past already. So why couldn't they? And that would be an easy explanation. They genetically modify themselves to be better warriors, and then inbreeding, you know, to keep that going. Because imagine if they genetically engineered their first version, and then, you know, you could easily, especially if they knew they're trying to become more like Kalis, more like a legacy. What if they genetically engineered themselves at the start, and the scientists said, well, in 200 years we're going to look very different, but we're going to be bloody kick-ass. You know, 3 generations of kids, and because Klingons live a long time, they probably at least got the granddad still alive. I don't know if they can live 200 years. Klingons, I think they can live late hundreds. I know that.
yeah, I'm not sure exactly how long they live, but yeah, it's longer than humans for sure.
So you're looking at second generation Klingons probably minimum, with young ones being third and then fourth. But you know, genetic engineering sci-fi. Why wouldn't they look different from just another cycle of whatever? Cool. There you go.
I'm excited. I'm excited again. I've been excited off and on for Discovery. Seem to get disappointed at some points.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's good, and then you know,
it's such a strange mixed bag.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's right around the corner. We're going to see it so soon.
It is. It's literally in arms. We can throw a stone and hit the Discovery premiere.
I can. It's right there on my calendar.
Wow. That yeah.
Anyway.
So what do you guys think?
Yes, I was just going to say that. Okay, you say the comments.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Has this made you reaffirm your trust in the Klingons for this show? Do you want to see the old Klingons? Do you just want to see the new Klingons? How have you grown accustomed to their face? And of course, what do you think about such an old ship in the Klingon Empire? And does that mean it's a bit rubbish? Or do they just upgrade the weapons?
Yeah, looking forward to reading your comments, guys. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to get more Discovery updates. Plus, we're doing episode reviews on Discovery when it comes out. And we're going to be examining all the new tech that we're going to see. So it should be a fun ride. So don't forget to subscribe and join us for that. So until next time, guys, and more breaking news, or just for our first Star Trek Discovery review, we will see you then. I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Connor Coggins.
Yeah. See you guys.
Bye, guys.